Hello and welcome to the Leveling Up podcast with me, George Swift from Bigger, Brighter, Bolder. I'm also the founder of BBB Success Groups for ambitious business owners and extreme growth masterminds. The Leveling Up podcast is here to give you the personal development, the entrepreneurial development, and the business growth that you, the small business owner, desire. We're here to give you the inspiration, the motivation, and to raise your aspirations to take you and your business to the next level. Don't forget to tune in every Monday and Wednesday for mindset, attitude, and personal performance, and also, of course, business growth. And on Fridays, we do our Friday 5-minute fix. Subscribe to this podcast and never miss an episode. Okay, so thank you for joining us on this first ever episode of the Leveling Up podcast with me, George Swift. Today, I thought I would lay out exactly what it is I mean by leveling up, why you, the business owner, will need to level up, and also I'm going to set out the foundations and set out my intentions for this podcast moving forward. If you are listening to this, I thank you greatly. I'm well aware that many people are vying for your time and attention right now, so I do not take it lightly that you have opted and chosen to spend this time with me. In return, as always, my commitment to you is to give you as much content and as much value as I possibly can to help you and your business become all it can be. Okay, so extreme business growth requires both you and your business to evolve. The aim of this podcast is to challenge your thinking and to inspire greater levels of motivation, and also to really get you to maybe start to think bigger, to challenge your current ambition, and to get you to start to dream bigger, to have raised expectations, to really level up your game and to really take control of your life as an entrepreneur and your business so that you can take you and your business to the next level. This podcast is a means for me to pass on the content that usually is reserved purely for our success groups and our extreme growth masterminds. And it's a really good opportunity for me to really take that content and bring it out of, I guess, to some degree, you know, the kind of the closed rooms of our success groups and our masterminds and give it to the wider population. I'm absolutely on a mission here to help small business owners just like you to achieve greater levels of success. In the years that we've been running success groups, in the years I've been working with entrepreneurs, it really breaks my heart when I see so many business owners struggling to achieve their potential, and I see so many businesses unnecessarily struggling. There's a degree of challenge that's always going to come from being a business owner. There's a degree of challenge that's always going to come from being a human being. But when you start to really wanting to push yourself, push your business, to really start to challenge yourself, to perform at higher levels, to create a better quality of life for yourself, it really can be a challenging journey. And that's why, again, myself at Success Groups, our masterminds, are here to share that journey with you. So what I want to talk to you today is really about why you need to keep growing. Well, first and foremost, if you're not growing, then the chances are that you are potentially decaying. At the very least, you're stagnating, maybe plateauing. Now, if you want to continue to get the rewards out of your business that I think that you deserve, then you need to keep pushing the business further forward. And to do that, you need to keep leveling up yourself. You need to continually develop yourself as a business owner. We have a saying at Success Groups, which is your business, but you're our business. And that really will come through across this podcast as well. In other words, your job is to take care of your business. Your job is to grow your business. However, my job here is to help you become the best performing business owner you can be. And a big part of that is helping you become the best performing human being you can. You cannot separate you, the person, from you, the entrepreneur, from you, the business owner, from your business. Who you are and who you're being and the actions you take and, you know, your thoughts and your feelings and your behaviors will all amount to creating a degree of success or failure that you will experience in life, and of course as a business owner that your business will experience. I see way too many business owners struggling unnecessarily So if you're listening to this, welcome aboard the BBB train. And let's get you some really good business growth, and let's help you. Let's hold your hand a little bit through some of the things that you need to navigate in order to make that happen. The number one thing is really simple. It's called leveling up, because you will need to level up. If you need or want to grow your business in a little way, then there's not a lot that you need to change. You can just work a little bit harder, work a little bit more efficiently. However, if you want to take your business to a really big evolution, or through a really big evolution, you're going to have to go through that first and foremost. You are leading the way. If you don't continually level up yourself as an entrepreneur, then what will happen is that you will eventually, inevitably, invariably hit your own limitations of your own personal performance. You hit the limitations of what you deserve. You hit limitations in terms of how you present yourself to the world, how you present yourself through your business. Now, your business has its own challenges, and of course, you're going to have to continually level up the business itself. It will need to evolve. It will need to continually grow. However, what you don't want to happen is you don't want you to be the limiting factor in that progression. You want to take you out of the equation. So in other words, you're laying the track for the train that is your business growth ahead of where your business is. Otherwise, what happens is the track starts to run out. The train will then run out of track. You'll then have to slow down and stop. You'll then be forced, the business owner, to then confront whatever it might be, some inner issues, some doubts, some fears, whatever it might be. You'll then have to deal with those yourself. You'll have to overcome those challenges. And then you're going to have to start the train back up again as you start to lay that track. In other words, you'll lose all of that momentum. When you want to grow your business fast, and we've got many years experience of doing this, both with our own business and of course with our members and our clients, then you need to maintain that momentum that you have in growing your business. That's why you need to keep leveling up ahead of your business. You do not want to be the weakest link in your business's performance. You are your business's greatest asset. However, you are also its biggest liability. We want to remove and limit that liability so we can work on our business efficiently, effectively, productively, and we can wring the absolute last of the potential that it has to offer us. Okay, so leveling up is about resolving your inner issues, but it's also about taking on those external challenges. As the podcast starts to unfold, you'll start to see lots of content here around maybe challenging your pricing strategy, your structures, the modeling that you're running through your business. I'm also going to be interviewing some really high caliber business owners who have gone on the journey that you are currently on, and obviously sharing their experiences both with myself, but also with you, my listening audience. Now, here's the thing, stepping up can be very challenging, okay? So maybe you're doing okay in your business. I don't know where you are. Maybe you're 50, 60K and you're okay with that. It provides you a basic lifestyle. Maybe you're doing 100, 200K and you're starting to get a half decent lifestyle. Maybe you're doing more than that. However, wherever you're at, this podcast is designed to take you to the next level. Some of the content may be really specifically designed for smaller businesses. Some of this will be really valuable also for larger businesses. However, the whole of this podcast is designed with the smaller business owner in mind. In other words, the owner managed business. This is not about corporates. I'm sure they have their own content and their own podcast to help them. Okay, so as you start to grow, as you start to face these challenges, if you dare to take the challenge of extreme business growth, then inevitably it will not be comfortable. Now, what I mean by that is there's going to be a degree of resistance in you. There's also a degree of inertia in your business, and those two things will need overcoming, right? Now, to do that, some of it will require potentially some education. In other words, you need to do things better. There's stuff out there that maybe you don't know about that you need to know about in order to be able to tackle the challenge intelligently. However, sometimes it's going to need a little bit of brute force, or a little bit of blunt trauma. In other words, you might just need to work a little bit harder, a little bit faster. You may need to just dig in and grind it out for a little bit in order to take yourself to the next level and beyond. Now, of course, your own business journey is absolutely up to you. This is all designed for those business owners that are absolutely committed to wanting to grow their business. Therefore, some of what I say, not necessarily in this particular episode, but moving forward, may be deemed challenging. It may be uncomfortable. However, if you're absolutely committed to your own journey of extreme growth, then you absolutely need to hear what I've got to say as the podcast starts to unfold. Okay, here we go. Leveling up. As it said right at the beginning on the intro, okay, when the extraordinary becomes ordinary, then you know you've leveled up. In other words, here's the thing. Where you are operating at right now, let's say we look at doubling it. This is a challenge that I often set for my business owners within Success Groups, our Success Group Plus Mastermind and our Extreme Growth Mastermind, is we start from a place of saying, right, I want you to think about doubling your business's turnover. Now, people in there have done doubles, they've done quadruples and everything else, okay? We've got people that have gone from, $2,000 a month, 25 grand a year to over 25,000 pounds per month in revenue, okay? So we're looking at, whatever that is, like 12 times, 10, 15 times, whatever. I haven't got my calculator in front of me. Extreme growth in business is absolutely attainable. And we start with that challenge of saying, right, wherever you are right now, the minimum you should be thinking in the next 12 months is to double your turnover. Now, of course, that can be really challenging. If you've taken 5 years in your business to get to 50K, and I'm saying, right, the next 12 months, I want you to take your business to 100 grand, then that may confront what you believe as plausible, what you think of as achievable. However, here's the thing. Once you start to achieve it, once you dare to challenge yourself to start to do what you need to do in order to achieve that kind of extreme growth, then what happens is that actually it seems extraordinary at the beginning. So first of all, you're doing 50K, 20K, whatever it might be. You challenge yourself and it feels extraordinary what it is you're trying to achieve. It feels almost like, unbelievable what it is that you're chasing. However, you follow the wise words of this podcast. Maybe you're in one of my masterminds already. Maybe you're in one of my success groups online, etc. And you're following what we're saying and you're trusting us on this particular journey and you're daring to roll up your sleeves, dig in and really go for it. Now, as you start to take the action and you start to achieve the results that you will get as you start to go on this journey of extreme growth, something wonderful starts to happen. In other words, it starts to feel normal. It starts to feel like every day. And eventually what happens is you'll hit your 100K, for example, doubling from 50, or you go from 20 to 40, or you go from 75 to 150, whatever it might be. We've had businesses go from, $250,000 to $500,000 a year. We've had people go from 350 grand a year to 750, and from 750 to 1.5 million in a single year. In fact, we had a business quite recently in one of our masterminds that went from £1 million to £2 million in turnover in well under 6 months. And I want to share with you that when you first start to achieve these results, so first of all, you have to, take a deep breath, dig in and really challenge yourself to go for this outcome, to go for this extreme growth, even if you don't necessarily feel totally certain that it's achievable. Then what happens is you'll start to get the results. So inevitably, invariably, you dig in, you fight hard enough for long enough, you will hit that goal. And that goal, which seemed so extraordinary when you started, still feels like exciting, but of course now you've achieved it, it starts to feel like reality. So the dream starts to become a reality. Now it still might feel special, you still might walk around pinching yourself for a while. Now whilst you're still in that pinching yourself phase, as in you can't quite believe that you've achieved it, you haven't yet fully leveled up, okay, even though you've achieved the result. The leveling up part of the process occurs that when doing 100K in revenue feels as normal, feels as mundane as maybe doing 50K does today. Or doing £1 million feels as ordinary or as mundane as £500,000 did before. So here's the thing, no matter where you are in your business, assuming you've been in business for a little while right now, you are already achieving a certain result that you weren't achieving maybe a year or 2 years ago. I'm making a presumption here that your business is growing. I hope it is. If it isn't, you definitely need to be tuning in and listening to these podcasts. But on the assumption that your business is continuing to grow, there may have been a point where you didn't even truly believe that you were ever going to work for yourself. Maybe you're tied up in a corporate job. It didn't feel real to you. And then one day, for whatever reason, you took the plunge and then you had to pinch yourself for a little bit. And it was like, wow, man, I work for myself. I don't have to get up at 7 o'clock on a Monday. And then what happens is it starts to feel normal. It might be months, it might be a year, but inevitably at some point, it feels like the most normal thing in the world that you are a business owner, you work for yourself, you are on your own clock, you're doing what it is that you love doing, and you are master of your own destiny. And that becomes like normal. And that becomes as normal as the day job did. In that moment that moment of normalization, that is when you will say, right, I have now leveled up. This is my new baseline of what normal is. And then from there, of course, what happens is you can then start to go to the next level. I want you to think of the analogy of a mountain climber. And as the mountain climber climbs maybe the first stretch of the mountain, not sure what you call it, but the first stretch of the mountain, okay? And then they tether themselves off, And what that means is that they can't ever fall back down to the beginning, okay? That becomes the new kind of like ground zero. And then they ascend to the next level. And then they tether themselves off there, and then they ascend. And what that means is every time they tether themselves off, what that means is that even if they fell back down, they wouldn't fall back down beyond that new base level. Does this make sense? So when you level up, you will always kind of default to what your expectations are. You'll default to what is ordinary, to what is normal. However, if what is normal is unemployed, broke, bankrupt or whatever, then of course you can fall back potentially to that as your normal. When your normal is 50K a year, when your normal is 100 or a million or 100 million, they start to become your default norms, which means you will fall potentially, you might fail at whatever it is you're currently facing. However, you will very quickly regroup back to what you consider to be ordinary, the baseline of what you consider to be normal. That's why it's so important that we continue to level up, because the leveling up process is about constantly raising that bar on what is considered normal by you. But actually what we're really talking about here is in your unconscious, which is where these bars are set. So what happens is you go from 50 to 100K, suddenly you're pinching yourself, can't believe I've achieved it, you're not yet leveled up. Then eventually what happens is you've been doing 100K for a little while, maybe you continue to push your business growth and maybe start hitting 110, 120. At some point what happens is 100 feels normal. And it's like when someone says to you, how much you're turning over, instead of saying, oh my God, I can't believe it, I'm doing 100K, what you're sitting there saying is, you know what, I do 100K. And saying you did 100K feels every bit as ordinary, every bit as normal as when you said 50. Or 10 or 20, or when you first set up your business. Does this make sense? This is why it's so important that you continue to level up yourself. It will directly impact your ability to create extreme growth in your business, but also you really want the extraordinary to become ordinary, because when it does, you have leveled up. What that means is you now operating from a completely different level. I'll be sharing my stories throughout these podcasts as they come out, but over and over again, I've had to really massively level up. Where I am in my life now, what I do for a living, the lifestyle that I currently have is so far beyond what I grew up with. It's so far beyond what I expected for myself, or to some degree even what I could dream of, and yet I've been living it for many years now. It continues to improve, my life continues to improve, my business is constantly growing and improving, and what that means is that actually what I have today feels as normal as what I had 20 years ago when I had very little. Okay, so I want to take you on this journey of leveling up. Hopefully you're starting to really understand why it's important to level up. In your own life, I want you to think, where are the blocks and the barriers that are stopping you from daring to be truly ambitious in your business? And I want you to think, what would doubling your business look like? What does doubling the turnover in your business look like? Would you change your premises? Would your products change? Would your lifestyle change? I want you to really think about, what does extreme business growth look like for you? And again, I want you to start with that 2xing. I want you to start with the idea of, doubling your business in the next 12 months. I run a program, a webinar and everything else around what I call the six-figure fast track, which is taking any business, right? Any service-based business that is currently doing 5 figures, so 20, 30, 40, 50, 60K, for example, and showing them what they need to implement in order to hit 100K or more in turnover within 12 months or less. We've seen this so many times. I've done it with so many of my clients, and I want this for you if you are tuning in, listening to this podcast. I want this for you. Okay, so here's the thing. Take that big goal, take that big ambition, whether it's the 100K, whether it's the 2 times in your current turnover, wherever it is right now. Maybe you're listening to this and you're not yet running a business, and maybe I can be the inspiration for you to set up your own business, and that's your really big extreme goal. Is getting out of the 9-to-5 rat race and doing something that really matters to you, something you can be passionate about and you love. Whatever that extreme growth goal is, I want you to understand, leveling up is about getting to a place where not only you achieve that, but actually where that becomes as normal as what it is that you are currently achieving. Okay, so here we go. I want you to challenge yourself, to dare to think bigger, dream bigger. I challenge you to really look at what it's going to take you and your business to that next level. I'm also going to invite you on this journey through the Leveling Up podcast. Please do tune in, subscribe, make sure you don't miss any of the channels. I've got some awesome stuff coming up. Next session is all about, or next episode I should say, is all about the 2 paths on the journey of success and the importance of you walking both of those paths as a business owner. Okay, if you want to find out a little bit more about me, all my success groups, all my extreme growth masterminds, please go to biggerbrighterbolder.co.uk. The link will be in the description. And go and check us out. We're here to support people on their goal setting. Business owners, this is, of course, on their goal setting, their accountability, their personal development, their entrepreneurial development. And of course, it's all designed to give you a better quality of life and to get the business growth that you want. Okay, thanks for listening, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me. The links will be in the descriptions. Also, hunt me out on social media. I'd love to connect with you and interact with you. Until next time, as always, be successful.